Thank you all for coming. A very warm welcome from my side to the session on unlocking the potential of nature-based solutions through smart city tools. I'm delighted to have you here, and I'm also delighted to be joined by an excellent panel today. My name is Bettina Wilk. I'm from Iclei European Secretariat, which is a city network that supports cities on becoming sustainable. We do that in different ways. One of them is through being integrated in projects and pilots such Horizon 2020 projects, but also by providing them various tools and services. So before we go into the topic any deeper, let's take a few minutes for the panelists to introduce themselves. Please let me know who you are and who you're representing. And let's start with Bianca.
Great. Hi. Good morning from my side. Thank you for the invitation. So I am Bianca Lüders. I'm here to represent the Agency for Geoinformation and Surveying of the City of Hamburg. And there I am a part of the Urban Data Hub. And besides working on urban data analytics, I evaluate new technologies, including chatbots, distributed ledgers, machine learning, and artificial intelligence for the application in the City of Hamburg. In the Clever Cities project, which Peter is going to present, I'm responsible for connecting the urban data platform with the monitoring of nature-based solutions.
Hi, my name's Peter Messini. I work for the Greater London Authority, and I lead on the city authorities' work on green infrastructure and nature-based solutions. I'm an ecologist by training.
Hi, my name is Bernard Scharf. I'm a researcher at the University of Applied Sciences and Natural Resources, and also co-founder and technical director of Green for Cities and Green Pass companies.
Okay, hi, I'm Elena D'Ambrogio from the municipality of Torino in Italy. I work at the innovation department, and I'm in charge of supporting innovative enterprise to test innovative solutions in our territory. And I'm here to represent the ProGirec project, a project on nature-based solution in Torino.
Hello, my name is Itziar Aspuru. I'm coming from Tecnalia, that is a research institution in the Basque Country, in the north of Spain. And we are participating in European projects regarding nature-based solutions, so Clever, Grow Green, and also we develop a guide for nature-based solution published by IOBE, that is the Basque Environmental Government Agency. Thanks.
Thanks a lot for introducing yourself. As I said, I'm working in a city network, and recently we have a lot of projects that focus on nature-based solutions and green infrastructure, and also the various intersections with biodiversity, resilience, and climate adaptation. So we have got representatives from two of these projects here today. The one is Clever Cities, and we've got the city of Hamburg and the city of London here. And we've also got other partners from the Clever Cities project here, Green for Cities, Bernard Scharf, and Itziar from Tecnalia. And then the other project from the same call is ProGirec. Both of them look at how you can actually harness nature-based solutions for urban regeneration. And that is done either in post-industrial areas in the city of Turin, as is the case of ProGirec, or in socially deprived areas in London and Hamburg. So for those of you who don't know what nature-based solutions are, I'm going to briefly introduce it. Nature-based solutions are any kind of interventions. It can be green roofs, it can be green facades, but also street canopy cover, for example, or renaturated rivers that work with nature and with the properties of nature, and basically with the properties that their ecosystem can deliver. So the ecosystem services, in essence, in order to tackle the multiple challenges of our time, such as climate change, but also biodiversity, even social inclusion and resilience. And as you can already guess, there's a lot of benefits that nature-based solutions deliver. That is not only connecting different habitats, for example, through green corridors and have a positive impact on biodiversity, but also climate adaptation when it comes to buffering floods or reducing heat island effects. Also climate mitigation when we talk about capturing carbon and creating solutions that capture carbon through enhancing urban green and increasing urban green. And then finally also health and well-being, of course, through improving air quality, but also water quality and providing spaces for recreation. So the interest in nature-based solutions and in green infrastructure is rising globally. And what we are specifically interested today is, since there's now green infrastructure strategies and plans arising next to smart city visions and plans. And the challenge that several cities are now focusing on is how can you actually better integrate the two so that they actually are beneficial to each other. And we're going to dedicate that session to exactly that topic today. So basically, how can you use smart tools and smart technologies to better integrate into nature-based solutions, and what value do they have? And we've brought together a panel of experts that do have experiences in exactly these issues, also through the projects that I just mentioned, and they will enlighten us in how they did it and what insights they have generated, and also what applications are around. So I briefly run you through the agenda for today. We will have a short keynote by Peter Massini from the Greater London Authority, and after that we will directly go into a panel discussion that will cover 3 themes or 3 topics that lend themselves especially to the integration of smart tools and digitalization. And these themes are the design and the planning of nature-based solutions, then co-creation aspect and public participation, and then finally measuring impact and monitoring. So without any further ado, I would like to give the floor to Peter.
So, I can't see that from here.
That's it.
Yep, is that okay? Yeah. So my name's Peter Massini. I work for the Greater London Authority, and I'm an ecologist by training, and I've worked for 20 years in London, a whole range of issues relating to nature-based solutions, green infrastructure, and we're now facing, like many other cities, some really huge challenges in relation to population growth, to climate change, to an ecological crisis. And we need to think about how we integrate nature-based solutions, which I'll explain a bit further in a moment, with a smart city to actually make livable, sustainable cities. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the Clever project and what the Clever project is all about. So the Clever project is a project funded by the European Commission involving a wide range of cities, 3 front-runner cities, London.
I think it's not loud enough, right? Can you turn
Can you hear me
the
now?
microphone up a bit?
No?
Sorry.
Can you hear me now? Okay, I'll speak right into the microphone down here. So Clever Cities is a program involving 3 front-runner cities, Milan, Hamburg and London, and several other cities who are working with us to think about how they can integrate nature-based solutions into their own cities. And the aim of the project is to explore how nature-based solutions can be part of an urban regeneration program, but particularly involving local people, how local people can be fully engaged, fully supportive of a transformation of the way urban districts operate in the future. So we move away from a car-dominated city of glass and steel to a more livable city, less car domination, more greenery, more features like green roofs, green facades and street trees, to produce a whole range of benefits related to climate change and health and well-being. So these are the cities involved, so London, Hamburg, Milan, and a range of other cities. And we're working with a lot of other partners in academic institutions, small businesses dealing with economic valuation of green infrastructure, and a range of other partners who are experts in engaging and citizens and co-design and co-creation. So a little bit about what are nature-based solutions. Many people think nature-based solutions is about making the city or reinventing the city in a way that's not consistent with a smart, dense, greener city. We know cities have to become much denser in the future. London is becoming a much denser city. But we also need cities need to become greener, and sometimes that's rather a conundrum. How do you make a dense city a greener city? We need to protect our core assets like parks and green spaces, but increasingly integrating nature-based solutions, green infrastructure into the built environment. So in London, for example, through our planning processes, all new developments now need to include green roofs, green facades, sustainable drainage. And gradually over time, that ensures the city becomes greener whilst also becoming denser. So as I said, the aims of Clever is to achieve those nature-based solutions, but most importantly, working with citizens. And all three front-runner cities are focusing their attention on areas of urban regeneration where there are significant economic and social issues as well as environmental issues. The Clever Cities project believes that we can't address the environmental issues unless we're also addressing the social and economic issues that most people in cities want city governments to address. And this process fits in with a EU-wide policy agenda around nature-based solutions and policy agendas being delivered by each individual city. As I said, in London, our own planning policy frameworks now favour nature-based solutions in all urban regeneration projects. And the intention is to develop new districts in cities which look more like this than the typical urban form. So a city that integrates green space, integrates green roofs, green facades into the built environment to address fundamental problems like the climate crisis, to address issues around health and well-being, and to improve the health, quality of life and well-being and economic opportunities of urban citizens. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Peter. Thank you. I would now directly like to move into the panel discussion. As I mentioned before, we've got three themes that we think are worthwhile discussing with regards to integrating smart tools. And we will start with the theme of planning and design of NBS. Peter has already mentioned the rationale for why it is actually important to have NBS. And now we look more like into the background and how you can actually make a nature-based solution fit to a certain place, and what are the challenges actually in making them fit to a place, and how to get this information. So technology can basically help facilitate these decision-making processes and also the planning processes in telling me exactly what are the challenges in a certain area, and also then to see what potential nature-based solution could fit to these challenges. And now my question to the panelists is actually, what are the smart tools and applications available to cities to support these planning processes, and also what is their particular value in facilitating decision-making and planning processes. So maybe we could start with Bernhard. Yes, exactly.
So, it's already there? Yeah, hello everybody, once again. My name is Bernard, and we developed over the recent 9 years a tool that allows to plan nature-based solutions and also the structure of the urban form. It's called GreenPass. Basically, we have different key performance indicators addressing 6 urban challenges that are climate, water, air, biodiversity, energy, and cost. And I'll be very brief, but there will be time to discuss later on, I hope. What you can do is, this is an example of an urban development project that we supported in for the authority, for the public authority there. So what we can do is that we can provide a ranking of the performances. Sorry, I think I skipped a slide. No, I didn't. Oh, that's the wrong one. The wrong presentation.
I'm sorry, yeah, we need the other one.
This one is the right one?
Yeah. I think you can hear me.
You can see the mouse. This is the mouse. The mouse is gone. It's this one. Okay. sorry, I got a second presentation and it was mixed up. So basically, what does GreenPass? GreenPass makes the effects of buildings, building materials, urban materials, and green and blue infrastructure measurable and comparable. That is what GreenPass does. Here's the example again that you saw before. This is an urban development project, 24 hectares in Vienna. And what we do a simulation and we extract a certain amount of data so that you really know where your hotspots are, where your problems with the wind field are, and so on and so forth. And based on that information, you can update and improve your design to more climate resilience. And finally, we can improve the design significantly using this tool and placing the right nature-based solution at the right spot. And we are really happy that our principles that we elaborated in the project are now the design principles for the further development of this urban development area. That's it.
Thanks a lot for that. Yeah, very brief. I've actually got a few questions about that. So what is the potential for replication in other cities? I guess the data that you have to insert into that tool are very city-specific data, right?
Well, actually the tool is applicable worldwide. It has been developed in a way so that you can apply it everywhere. And we are actually doing projects in 8 different European countries at the moment, and we are going to apply it also in the Clever project in London and very likely also in Milano and in Hamburg. And we did projects in Antwerp and in Melbourne and so on and so forth. So the system is a standardized process with high transparency and defined KPIs. And what is depending on the location is only the global positioning, so that influences the solar radiation that you gain, of course, and the climatic framework. So this is what we retrieve from the spot. Also the urban design, of course, is from where we simulate and where we evaluate. But for the rest, it's applicable worldwide, and we do it already.
Okay, thanks a lot for that. Are there issues with interoperability when we now talk about smart tools? There's not only that you can basically use smart technologies for nature-based solutions, but there might also be a problem to have different infrastructures that need to be matching and that need to be interoperable. What about traditional planning applications that are already in use and existing? Does it match with those, and how does it integrate?
Basically, we build up on building software like CAD or GIS software. We have an interface to building energy simulation software where we hand over data to them. They're really happy about that. And what we provide is a profound ground for decision making in the planning process. Because we all know that nature-based solutions are nice, but still they should bring some effects. This is what we bring in, a decision ground for the first time. So it's not like I like trees, but this is a tree I planted there because it improves the quality of life for the people that are going to live there. And we can tell you in numbers how good it is.
Okay. This brings us actually exactly back to that. A solution has to fit the context and the challenges that a certain place is actually having, right? Thank you very much for that. Are there any other experience from other cities, for example, the City of London?
So in terms of...
I need to come closer, otherwise I don't hear you.
So in terms of planning green, nature-based solutions in London, we're using 2 key tools. We've developed in-house a green infrastructure focus map, which layers various GIS systems. So we've done a very detailed LiDAR assessment of London's green cover and its canopy cover, and we've incorporated into a GIS system a whole range of other data relating to air quality, to social indicators like demographic features, health information, and changes in population, to use it as a decision-making tool to identify where we can invest in green infrastructure. People like green cities, but green infrastructure, like any other infrastructure, needs a business case. Just the same as we need a business case for transport infrastructure, for digital infrastructure, we need a business case for green infrastructure. So the green infrastructure focus map allows us to identify where we get maximum benefit from implementation of green infrastructure, whether we're trying to address air quality or climate resilience or simply more access to green space, and allows those hard-pressed decision makers who are making decisions about budgets, about where to invest, where to improve the quality of green infrastructure too. We're also developing another tool with a private company called Economics to explore the economic value of green infrastructure. Again, when we're making decisions about investment in parks, green spaces and other green infrastructure, we need to balance that against investment in other public goods like health and transport. For many years, we've just assumed that green infrastructure is something that people like and therefore the city purse will pay for it. But now we have to make much more stronger business cases for investment. And a new tool which we launched hopefully later this year called Greenkeeper uses mobile phone data to identify how people are using green spaces, how they're moving through the city, again to allow us to make economic decisions about investment in green infrastructure.
Thanks a lot for that. How do you monetize these economic benefits, or which method do you use to do that?
So the monetization of green infrastructure is quite controversial. People think it's about commodification, but it's not commodification. It's not about selling our green spaces. It's about developing an economic argument for investment. And the tool being developed by Economics, the Greenkeeper tool, is using health data, it's using data about property prices, uplifting property value, to give you a picture of where investment in green infrastructure produces the most economic output. It's a decision-making tool. It doesn't give you answers. It just helps in that planning process of where to invest, where you might also get private developers to pay a bit more for green infrastructure because of the uplift in land value that they receive from it. So it's a combination of different data sets to help decision making.
So if you say that private sector uptake is kind of your goal, how do you envision the future for that uptake to happen, and what would you like for it to happen?
So that's quite complex because it's about a mix of carrot and stick. So we can use the planning process to require private developers to implement green infrastructure. But if we can also show that economically that green infrastructure provides benefits to them, particularly in terms of changes in the real estate market. In the real estate market in the UK for many years, most real estate development has been about producing a capital asset, which you then sell. The real estate investment is changing more to a model where developers will invest in real estate, then retain ownership of that real estate and achieve a rental value. If you want to maximize your rental value, you've got to make livable, pleasant, great place for people to be. So the economic valuation, the Greenkeeper tool, demonstrates to the developer the long-term economic value of investment in green infrastructure.
Okay, thank you for that. Anything to add from Bernhard, for example, for GreenPass? Okay. Do we have any other examples, for example, from the city of Hamburg, also on tools that help the planning and the decision-making processes?
So one of our main tools for planning NBS, now better. So the main tool for the layout of the city is GeoOnline, which is Hamburg's online web map application, and it allows anyone to stack different layers of geospatial data, a lot of infrastructural data regarding schools, kindergartens, and so on, and also a lot of natural and green data, including biotopes, nature protection areas, playgrounds, and so on. And it's really used both by citizens and authorities to have an idea of the layout of the city and to identify the deficiency of green spaces, even though I have to admit that Hamburg is a really green city and there's not too many green areas for that. So the increased data availability has really helped to lay out and to get a strategic overview of where to invest and where to put green spaces. However, this is only a mapping tool, so it's only a basis for a decision. It does not give suggestions yet. What we do to get suggestions for green spaces, we have in the scope of the Clever Cities project, which is also about tackling spaces of fear, we have came up with a cooperation with Sensafety. That is a research project from the Technical University of Berlin, and it's about identifying spaces where people feel uncomfortable for some reason. So it is a smartphone app, and it asks a very simple question: do you feel safe where you are right now? And then you can answer either yes or no, and the answers are compiled to a map of comfortable or perceived security. And we could enhance this app with a location-based second question, which asks, why do you feel safe or unsafe? And then the user may choose from a list of categories to describe the perception of the area. And the compiled data from this really allows us to identify spots and to prioritize them in order to see how to tackle those spots with nature-based solutions.
Okay, is that a tool that is already mainstreamed in the city of Hamburg? So is that a tool that you use and that different departments also use?
We are currently investigating the cooperation, so we are starting to use it. We are starting to talk about it also with citizens, and so far we got really good feedback. So people are really happy to have a way to express those diffuse feelings of being uncomfortable in some places, and to tell us about it and allow us to modernize them, provide them with lighting, with livability, with seating areas, with more social control, if you say so.
Mm-hmm. Thank you very much. That actually brings us to the second theme that we would like to go into, and that is co-creation and public participation and stakeholder engagement. This is a very critical point and an important point when it comes to nature-based solutions, because in the end we want them to be citizen-owned, we want them to be used, and sometimes we even want citizens to actually operate or manage them. We live in an era where there's dwindling public resources, and we have to find other ways to make things work and to maintain them as well. So this is one of the crucial interests, and if you take the stakeholders from the very beginning of the planning process or even the design process or even before that already, that creates this sense of ownership that is very important, that can also positively impact on the use of nature-based solutions and also how citizens perceive them in general. So my question is, what applications are there, and also what other smart tools are there that kind of enhance and promote the citizen engagement and this stakeholder engagement? Maybe from the city of Turin?
Thanks. In this field, I can give 2 examples. First of all, one of the ideas we had in Torino is that to involve citizens, we have to create knowledge about data, about environmental data, and how nature-based solutions can real impact on their life, on quality of air, and on quality of life. So within the Project Reg area, matching with another co-funded project which is called ToolSmart, we created a sensor network of enabling monitoring of outdoor environmental conditions. It is not important the technical solutions. We adopted an open approach. We use open hardware and open software, so the solution is easy to use, easy to install. It has been internally developed by the staff of the city of Torino, and is scalable, and it is of course based on open hardware. But it is not only the technical solutions which is important, but the idea is that we created a sensor network based at the district level, and we installed these sensors into schools, which now act as a hub for technology, involving schools in civic monitoring. So we also engaged high schools in targeted training. So we gave them sensors kit. They built their own sensors, and they will help the community within the area to understand how sensors work and how data speak about real quality of life. So this is a first example to create a common knowledge about data in the area, and to give to real people a strong knowledge basis to understand the changes that nature-based solutions will have in their real life. This is the first example. The second one is related to, let's say, co-design and co-management web platform. In these cases, we tested the Week of Now platform, which is based on a web platform which enables proposing innovative solutions for the district and voting on it. So we tested it in 3 main cases. One, it was to co-design new solutions into a park in Torino. In another case, we used this platform to vote for funding of projects in the area by citizens. And in the third case, we used it to understand the real problems in a district, in a targeted district. The idea is to use the Week of Now project in the ProGireg project in order to co-design green corridors and to also reason on the future use and the co-management of nature-based solutions we will deploy in the area.
Sounds like 2 very good tools here. Do you already have some feedback on the impacts, or can you already measure that the impact and feedback from the citizens in kind of opening up the planning culture to citizens?
Yeah, first of all, the realization of the sensor network really gather people around the ProGireg project and from the new generation. This is very important for us. We have 7 schools involved and 7 schools which carry together their families and teachers and professors living and working in the area. So this is a very good basis for the co-design process. Regarding the Week of Now platform used in the previous project, for instance, we had 10,000 people voting the use of funding in a targeted area. These are good numbers for us, a good basis to work on. Of course, it is not only the good history. The platform alone does not work. Of course, we accompany the project with offline workshops with citizens, explaining and assisting citizens with our technical department. And the outcomes of the voting process became the basis of feasibility plans for new interventions.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Do you think that this is actually going to change, like this technology can actually change the planning culture and like lead to really like an opening up of the planning culture? Sometimes we say new public management in a way. Do you think it has the power to transform that in the long run?
I think yes, and we have already good results in it. Of course, we cannot co-design everything. We have rules, we have regulations, but to give and explain very well the area of decision-making for citizens, it is very important to let understand how the decision-making process is held within municipalities and how we can put the space where co-design is possible and fruitful.
Thank you very much. Itziar, I think you also have experiences with stakeholder engagement and citizen science and citizen censoring.
Yes, thank you. I don't know if more or less, yeah. So, yes, we have some experience on that, and I want to speak a bit about the subjectivity. So, all of us, we know that urban regeneration processes have much higher chances of being successful if they consider the perception of the people from the place. So, for instance, does the place have a special meaning for the community, or which expectations they have about the future or the urban regeneration process, or which feelings and beliefs they have about the nature-based solutions or about nature itself, or finally, which are the activities that they want to do in this place and what they need in terms of equipment or environmental conditions to have a comfortable experience. So all these things are subjective and looks far from technology, far from quantitative variables, so looks hard to manage. But the subjective science can convert this data into input data for the design process. And this is especially needed in the case of nature-based solutions, because nature-based solutions have added social value that has to be quantified and has to be considered in the planning process. So Tecnalia has developed citizens observatories. So it's a tool to integrate to be integrated in the co-creation process. Citizen observatories means to engage citizens to do observations of the variables that we are managing. And in our view, the main and the most valuable data that the citizens can give to us is their perception and their interest. So that means that this is valuable for them, but this is also valuable for us because it has to be a key variable in the design process and also in all the modeling of alternatives that we have to do during the planning. So what we suggest is to launch citizen observation campaigns in the co-creation process of the regeneration of an area. And technology, of course, can support these campaigns, getting what is very valuable for us, that getting objective and subjective pairs of data. So not only subjective data, but also objective data, so we can understand what they are telling to us. And objective and subjective pairs of data from observations made on site from the citizens by them. So we propose engaging the citizens, the real experts of the area, that is the community that is using and will use the area. And if I can show to you, we gave to them a kit like that in one of the experience, a kit like that, with sensors. So this is a, sorry, how do you help me? With a acoustic sensor pre-calibrated, and also with just two things: a thermal sensor connected with the app inside the smartphone, and the app also had inside a questionnaire to collect the information and the interest of the people. So besides, with this type of kits, besides contributing to the co-creation process as a complementary to the face-to-face meetings or to online web services or whatever, also we can analyze the data and try to understand why they feel like they feel. So why, in which environmental conditions, for instance, they feel thermal comfort or they feel thermal stress, just the opposite. So our idea is that this can link the co-creation processes in urban regeneration process with nature-based solutions integrated, can link also the smart cities technology, and I thought it can be a good idea, a good proposal.
Thank you very much. So keep the questions for later. We're going to have a Q&A at the very end. So just note them down and keep them in your mind.
Sorry,
yes?
one more thing. Just to link it with the planning, that is the phase that we are now, is that because later I will speak also about the monitoring, but we think that this type of data, this type of analysis can help on kind of calibrating the planning. So the variables that we are modeling in different alternatives considered in the design, we can enrich them with this type of information. Sorry.
No, thank you very much. Does anyone else want to add something here, or I think we're a bit brief on time?
I could also explain what we do in Hamburg in order to engage citizens in the co-creation process. So also regarding the heat reduction topic, which we always have in the crowded urban areas, one project which helped create the creation or co-creation culture in Hamburg was Marticipate, which enables citizens, also again via smartphone app, to suggest locations and types of trees to be planted. And the citizens could get immediate feedback. So there was, based again on urban spatial data which we have, was immediately checked for soil conditions, for the space to grow for the tree, and also whether some solar panels were overshaded. And we could use this, the experiences from this urban story, which was also developed in cooperation with London and Rome this time, to DPAS, which is our main digital participation system. It allows users via smartphone and also via desktop application to post geo-referenced feedback anywhere and anytime to the ongoing participation processes. And of course, this enhances the quality of planning. It is much more easier for the planner because he has all the data readily available for evaluation. And it also gives citizens a way to get information and form an informed opinion of what planning is going on. And DPAS is not only online, but it also combines the online with on-site participation, since we have those touch tables, those really large monitors which you can use to zoom in on maps. And we take those to the on-site events, and people love to gather around them and check the online ideas, discuss them, exchange comments, and also rate them. And it really helps to improve planning by an informed dialogue with the planners as well. So this is the main co-creation approach I think we have for digital participation.
That's very, very interesting. Actually, that's also like an opening up of a domain that is the planning domain that was very isolated, opening it up to the citizens and let them actually participate and actually have a say in what is going to happen and what they want to see.
It is, especially. And what I really like is the possibility to participate online, because not everybody has the time and the resources to go to the on-site events. It's quite a homogeneous group of people usually. And with DPAS, we really allow anyone to contribute.
Thank you very much. How many users do you have of that DPAS system, more or less, or how many feedback?
Users, you mean? I think it has been used in around 10 to 15 processes so far, and I am working on the contributions with natural language processing techniques, so we have several thousand contributions already, which are a really good basis for an NLP evaluation of that.
Thank you very much. So then we will move on to the last topic that we would like to delve into, and that is actually impact measurement and monitoring. So without having a proof that NBS actually work and that they actually deliver the benefits that they promise, we cannot promote any mainstreaming of nature-based solutions in the long run. So this is really a critical part, and it's also a challenging part. As we've heard, there's loads of social, economic, and also environmental data that have to be gathered, baselines that have to be established, and then after the implementation of an intervention, another monitoring process, and even throughout monitoring is taking place. So there's different censoring methods around, and also different applications about how to measure the impact across all these three domains. And here I would like to ask again the panelists which ones they are using and what value they see.
So let's try to get the right presentation this time. Ich bin Apple-User, ich kann das nicht.
Das nicht?
Jetzt. So before I presented you GreenPass as a simulation tool, and I told you that we are feeding into the planning process. But how can stakeholders and planning experts from that point on make decisions? So this is where our key performance indicators come into place. We have 5 key performance scores and 23 key performance indicators, and depending on the phase of the process of your planning, you receive a certain amount of indicators that are tailored to the needs of the specific phase. So in the preliminary design of your project, you don't need to have all the indicators because all the framework conditions, all the materials are not fixed at that point. In the concept design phase, you have more indicators, and in the detailed design phase, we apply a bunch of indicators so that you can really optimize your project. And these indicators show you how good a design is in comparison to another one. So these are our standardized forms where you can see how good or how bad your project performs. If you look at the left-hand side, I will just talk about the 5 key performance scores. The first one is the thermal load score. That means the air body is entering your project area and it's leaving your project area. And the difference in between in the temperature means that you put an additional load to your neighbors or that you cool the city. For instance, we supported the Biodiversity project in Vienna, and we could show that we cooled down the air temperature by 2 degrees within 4 minutes when the air body is flowing through that area And all that is done by the right urban structure and the implementation of the right NBS at the right spot. So this is 2 degrees is possible on 500 meters in 5 minutes if you do the urban design right. And you can see it with these indicators. The next, the display is really poor. We have the thermal comfort score. You have seen the colorful maps before, but how can you know if the one map is better than the other? The thermal comfort score is a number that summarizes the thermal comfort of people who would walk around this place. So it's a number, and everybody can distinguish 2 numbers, like 10 is less than 20. So 20, the score of 20 in the thermal comfort of people is better than 10. Do you understand? Any questions? Later on, perhaps. Then we have the thermal storage score. Your urban structure will pick up energy from the solar radiation. And the more energy it picks up, the sooner it will overheat. So you have an urban heat island problem exactly where you have a high thermal storage score. And you can reduce the thermal storage score, especially by plants, because they take out the energy and they don't store energy and heat. Then we have the runoff score. That means how much water will you retain. And finally, we have the runoff score and the carbon dioxide sequestration. It's always the question is how much carbon is stored in your project area, and we can calculate that from our simulation. So if you add a tree, you will increase the carbon storage. Again, this project, this was an international competition with 6 entries, and we produced a standard report for the jury so that they could know which project is the best in terms of climate resilience. And we also provided detailed information for every design regarding the KPIs in the pre-certification, so 12 indicators in total. So they could decide, okay, this project is better than the other, and also take it for their decision making. Yeah, that's it. There is much more if you have interest.
Any immediate questions to Bernhard at that moment on that specific tool? Yes, please. Wait a sec, I have to bring you the microphone.
Thank you. It's a very specific question. How do you measure carbon storage?
The carbon storage is produced by our simulation tool, and that calculates the photosynthetic activity and also the carbon uptake in that context. So the trees, the facade greening, the green roofs, depending on the species, depending on the type of NBS, they take up carbon when they do photosynthesis, and this is calculated in the model.
Thank you.
Any other questions at that moment for that tool? No. Okay, then we will continue. What are the options for actually integrating citizens in what we call like a co-monitoring process? So that was now just a very technical process where there's not so much options for them to work with it, but there might be other options for citizens to co-monitor processes. Maybe Iclei, you can give us an insight from your side?
Yes, thank you, Bettina. So with the same approach that I mentioned before for the planning and the citizen observation campaigns, we can also design, and we have designed smart tools to facilitate that the citizens participate in the monitoring of the effects of nature-based solutions. So in this case, it's an app that was developed by Tecnalia. It's simpler than the kit, of course, and it's less accurate. But we think that it's better for, instead of perhaps short campaign, perhaps a longer effort from the citizens to participate in the monitoring. So what we ask to the people is to convert, to be observer of the city, of the comfort of the city, and we designed the app with gamification strategies to promote the use of the apps. That is, we know that is what is harder in these cases. So citizens, the app is free and can be downloaded, and citizens can upload the observations that they do at the place. All the observations will be automatically present in a dashboard on the web, and in this dashboard is built like a comfort map of the city built by the citizens' data. And this dashboard can analyze in any space unit, so the whole city or the district or a square can analyze three types of information. So first of all, the perception from the citizens. So for instance, the thermal perception, and there we have the subjective data. We also analyze in this space the objective data that was happening at the same time that the perception was sent. This again objective data, and could be temperature, humidity, and wind or whatever. And we also calculate a third type of information, that is the parameter or indicator that theoretically represent this perception, and in this case will be the PET, the physiological equivalent temperature, and is the parameter that was used during the modeling and the planning process. So doing like that, I think that we also add credibility to the project and to the phase of design, and we also engage the people in the monitoring. We also increase the awareness about the effect of the nature-based solutions, and we can even launch citizen science projects to analyze all this data and to understand which is the correspondence between objective and subjective information.
Thank you very much. I would actually like to open the floor for questions. Exactly, I'm coming over to you.
Hi, fantastic presentations, thank you. So I'm Peter Baden. I chair an initiative in the UK called Building with Nature, and we have a framework and monitoring process we've done across the UK. Two things we really learned, and I just want to ask questions for you. First is, how do you really make these schemes deliver for nature as well as people? You had loads of brilliant stuff about delivering for people, absolutely, but also we need to deliver for the natural world as well, for nature. And second thing, long-term monitoring and maintenance. Too many great green infrastructure schemes just die, don't get properly maintained. So how we have tools to ensure long-term monitoring and maintenance, thoughts on how you ensure that. So delivering for nature and long-term measuring and monitoring and maintenance.
Who wants to take a take on this? Maybe you keep that microphone over there, and then I keep this one.
So, two things to your questions, and one, Building for Nature is a fantastic tool. I'm aware of it. So, I'm an ecologist, so my passion is about nature and nature conservation. But I've worked in cities for 25 years, and it's a realization that you only protect, conserve, enhance nature if it's providing benefits for people in cities. Cities are places full of people. So a lot of the work we do is about green infrastructure that has functional benefits, that has an ecological outcome too. And if you drive it from that perspective, the benefits for people, greening the city has complementary benefits for biodiversity and nature. The monitoring and long-term maintenance, that's a problem with all infrastructure. How we as societies generate the resources to maintain our infrastructure. But it goes back to the issue around identifying the economic value of interventions like nature-based solutions. And for years we've not considered them as an economic intervention. We've considered them purely in terms of aesthetics or a nice thing to do, a cultural value. By demonstrating their economic value, you can then generate ways in which to bring revenue streams, even increase taxes if necessary, because of the value of that infrastructure. But yeah, infrastructure management maintenance is a fundamental problem for all cities, whether it's green infrastructure or transport infrastructure or digital infrastructure.
It is.
I'd like to add something. In our system, we also have key performance indicators for biodiversity. So nature-based solutions work for humans. We are also part of nature, at least in my opinion. But it always works for nature as well, and vegetation technologies, basically. So as soon as you give nature the space and the opportunity to evolve, it will. And secondly, we include a cost calculation for the installation and the maintenance of green infrastructure, so nature-based solutions in our tool. And we also calculate the water demand. So these are some aspects in the detailed planning phase in the certification that we tackle.
Thank you. Any more questions from the audience? Yes, please.
Thank you very much. Nice presentations. I have 3 short questions for Bernard, technical ones. First one is, which kind of methods are you using for calculating thermal comfort and thermal inertia? Yeah. The second one would be, do you use some KPI for air quality? And the third one would be, how do you combine different KPIs in order to get a global evaluation or global benchmark of a project?
Okay. Number one was, how does it work? Basically, we are using different simulation softwares, but we developed the GreenPass editor. So our partners, we are creating a licensed partner system worldwide. They receive our GreenPass software. They don't need to be experts in microclimate simulation. All they need to do is that they need to know their project, where it is, and what they want to do. As soon as they have edited their project with our software, they hand it over and we do the complicated part. The complicated part is the simulation part. Currently, we're using Nbs as microclimate simulation tool, which is very complex and brings out a lot of data. And we focused on the necessary data for decision making because we feed into planning processes, be it experts, be it co-creative. No, that doesn't really matter for us. We bring in the profound ground for decision making. And then it's up to the planners to integrate all the aspects that are to be integrated. Air quality. We only look at the carbon dioxide sequestration at the moment, but we could do rough particulate matter distribution, nitrogen, and things like that. But they are not that important to the planning process at the moment. And we're doing a wind simulation that is based on open foam as well. So if you want to have precise information about the wind field. And our clients and our partners, they receive the elaborated information back so that they can work onwards with that. Did that answer your questions?
The third one was how you combine different indicators.
The indicators. We are using PET, physiological equivalent temperature, for the thermal comfort that is calculated out of the simulation model. We're not using UTCI because UTCI has a problem with the wind speed in the urban fabric, and it's an international standard. All we did is to make it understandable also for stakeholders, and we created scores so that they can distinguish a good project from a bad project.
Okay. I'm afraid we're running out of time and we have to close this session. Feel free to contact our panelists after the session if you have any remaining questions. So thank you very much, and thank you very much as well.